appreciate it, as do I. For those of you who just came in, I'm Susan Carter. I am chair of the Master of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies program. We call it MAISE. And without further ado, we are just going to jump right into our next set of presentations. So we just heard from Jillian Carmen Murray about resiliency in aging women. So our next presenter is a fabulous illustration, an example of resilience. This is Velda Piff Metelmann, who will be talking to us about changing gold to platinum, having a great old age. Please give a warm welcome to Velda. I just have to say that Velda is such a determined, resilient woman. We have two people here today that it's very surprising that they got to this point. Velda is one of them with a broken hip, concerned that she not miss a class. And she finished that term. There were certainly some accommodations that were made because of it, but she didn't skip a beat. And so this is really wonderful, and to have her here today at this completion stage. Her thesis is at the binder, I think, or if not, it's going to be sent to the binder. It's at the binder. So I just wanted to let you know about that little piece of resilience. And there's one other person, with her permission, that I will share as well. So people really, really apply themselves to get here. So Velda, welcome.
In order. I have to say that if it hadn't been for Jenny Sasser being able to bring the class to the nursing home, I would have been far more behind in my studies. You notice that my title was Changing Gold to Platinum, Having a Great Old Age. My thesis is that one can have a great old age with wrenching loss, physical pain, and financial insecurity. All of these elements are present in my life, and it really isn't a secret. I'm old. But what is old age? We had, you know how hard it is to define old age. You can look at your hearts right now, you young folks, and decide, when will I be old? But you're going to change your mind as you go through life, because when you get old, it changes. I arbitrarily set the age of old age for the purpose of my studies at 80, because I think you have to live a long time to be old. There was a study done by the Pew Research Committee that interviewed around 3,000 people, and the average age that they decided old age was 68. Can you imagine? That's still in the prime of life. Some people say that old age is 10 years older than they are, but others say it's when you become disabled, unable to take care of yourself. Now that's nonsense, because anyone can become disabled at any time. We never know when an accident might make us helpless, permanently or for a short time. And this attitude, this prejudice against old age, gives old age a bad name. As bad a name as some of you might think organized religion has. But it's not disability, and old age is not that stereotypical view of feeble weakness and frailty and lack of creativity. It's not that. But because of the societal bias against old age, everyone sort of internalizes this idea. And it's dangerous for you young folks because you are becoming prejudiced against your future self, because the alternative to growing old is not staying young, it's being dead. But it's even more dangerous for us old folks to internalize it, because by doing so, we shut the door on growth. We shut the door on adventure. We close off our own life. I think life is to live as long as you're alive. I don't know whether it's fear of death or fear of losing your looks or fear of getting old that makes this deadly prejudice. But there are some attitudes that really assist in, staying alive and staying with it. One of those is gratitude. It's very hard to be sad and to be thankful at the same time. It's hard to be full of pity for yourself and full of gratitude. I think that the way we look at life, our attitude, forms the reality of how life is for us. And part of being old is looking at old age. I'm so nervous talking to you. If you're lucky enough to live a long time, you're going to get old. But having a great old age is not a choice. And chance plays a part in how you age. Where you're born, to whom you're born, the historical period in which you're born. I was lucky I wasn't born in the hills of Afghanistan or in a remote African village, but in a little town in a fruit farm in eastern Oregon, to parents who loved me, even though they were disappointed that I wasn't a boy. A great old age may be, to a great extent, a matter of choice, but chance plays a part. Another part of life that I think is very important is having meaning and purpose. Viktor Frankl survived 4 concentration camps in Nazi Germany. He realized that love was very important, and he found that as he thought of he had loving thoughts of his wife, he found that this helped him get through some terrible times. And he came to the conclusion that the meaning of life is to help others find meaning in theirs. He said that this search for meaning is the primary motivation of life, and this meaning is unique to the individual and can be fulfilled by that individual alone. And there's a historical element, because the time in which we are born, that time has special needs. He avowed that when an individual's search for meaning is successful, it makes that person happy. And happiness is one of the great contributors to longevity. Happiness and virtue are circle, a mutually dependent circle. And both are matters of choice and volition, because I think we choose to be happy. ultimately, regardless of circumstances, we are responsible for our own attitude and actions. Even the victims of a hopeless situation, facing a fate one cannot change, may rise above oneself, may grow beyond himself, and by in so doing, change himself and transcend. I think that the field of gerontology could be greatly improved if the voices of old people were heard. And I think that the life of all people would be improved if we were able to incorporate the learning from science into our own lives. In preparing this paper, I talked to a lot of old people. It was wonderful. I had 3 questions I like to ask them. Is there something in your life, some element in your life at this moment that's contributing to your great old age? And I like to ask them, did you make a decision when you were young that now is helping you be old? Or did you make a decision in your 60s that is helping you be old? Because I'm talking about old people, not the baby boomers, but old people. I talked to, one of my friends said, I think old age is a time of privilege. And when I asked her, did you do something when you were young? Her eyes sparkled. She said, I married the right man. Another one of my friends said, I left an abusive husband, went back to school, and I never looked back. Another friend said, I don't think I made a good decision till I was in my 50s. An 89-year-old fellow told me that he thought part of the reason he was having such a good old age is because he gave up smoking. He said he'd been brought up in an atmosphere blue with smoke, but he decided to just quit cold turkey. He rolled down the window of his car, tossed out his cigarettes, and never had another smoke. A 94-year-old woman from Nebraska seemed to feel that because she'd had such good nutrition, she felt Nebraska's soil was so good that the food produced there made for health, and she established excellent health. And I was at this group meeting of old people, and all of them thought that the food that they had as children growing up helped them be healthy. I talked to a 93-year-old fella who said, you can make anything you want of your life, but you have to work at it. And he had been in World War II in the Navy, but he didn't take advantage of the GI Bill because he'd married and he didn't want to leave home. But he thought that having a dog was one of the things that really helped you have a good old age. His present dog's named Charlie, and he said he didn't think he'd buy another one maybe after Charlie died. But I think he should, because his grandmother was 105, his grandfather was 106, his mother was 98, and so was his sister when they passed. So he may have several years after 93 to enjoy his dog. A 97-year-old man is looking forward to attending his 80th high school reunion this month over in a little town in eastern Washington with 3 other survivors of that graduation. Little towns have reunions. I graduated from Manual Arts High School in Los Angeles, and I've never had an inkling of a single reunion ever since. I also spoke to a woman who was 100. She was in a wheelchair. Her face had lines that showed that millions of smiles had crossed it. There was happy lines in her face. I asked her, how's life? She said, well, it's good. It's not as good as it was before I was 95, because I lost my sight at 95. And it's not as good as it was. But I'm happy, she said. My folks taught me to be happy, and I've always chosen that path. I'd like to summarize some simple strategies for constructing a good old age. Just kind of sum up some of the things that my studies showed me and things that I found out in my own life. You know, we start wanting to be in charge of our life by the time we're 2 years old. And we want to stay in charge of our life. And staying in charge of your life keeps your subjective well-being at a higher level. So stay in charge of your life as long as you can. Keep open to the opportunities that life offers, including spiritual choices. Opt for positivity. You know, look at things with a good eye. See the good in stuff. Seek an enriched physical and mental environment. You know, I think it's wonderful for old folks to go back to school, and it's so possible. I had no idea it would be possible to go back to school, and yet there are student loans, and they treat you so well at Marylhurst that I'd certainly recommend anyone who's elderly, really getting old, go back to school and enjoy yourself. Develop and widen a strong social circle. I lost my husband last August, and I realized I really needed to widen my social circle. And so I joined the water aerobics group, and those women were so friendly and sweet. I made friends. It's very nice. Adopt healthy food practices. I don't know that I do this as sincerely as I should. I'm very fond of Tillamook mudslide ice cream. And I recently made the decision that, well, I'm 91. I like cream in my coffee. I'm going to have it. Maybe that's not so smart. Expand your physical activity, and I'm trying to do that with the water aerobics. Increase the meaning and purpose in life. Well, I've had a lot of meaning and purpose in my life ever since I discovered the Baha'i faith before I was 30. And I continue to enjoy my faith and participate in it. And then my last counsel is have fun. Oregon, the state of Oregon, is not prejudiced against old age. Recently, I had to renew my driver's license. It was kind of a hassle because I couldn't find my birth certificate. I had to buy a new one. It cost $58 to get a registered birth certificate, and I took it down. But I don't ever have to show it again. They said, it's on file, so the next time that I need to renew my driver's license, it'll be there. And the state of Oregon has a lot of confidence in me because I don't have to renew my license until I'm 100 years old. That's it. Well, you know, at my age, you don't know how much time you've got. So you want to utilize every day you have and enjoy it. And people were so kind. At one class, actually, you know, I took pain medication. And I was sitting there, I had both wrists in casts, and I just dropped off for a moment. And at the break, the professor came and said, "You can be excused, you don't have to stay." But I said to my neighbor, "Pinch me if you see me nodding." And it worked.
Right, and I gotta get back. Speak up.
Speak up.
Oh, okay. Velda, I just wanted to say that I've enjoyed every minute of class time that I've had with you, and I've had a number of classes with you, and the great conversations that we've had, and debates sometimes. It's been wonderful, and I just want you to know that you will inspire me for the rest of my life. So thank you.
Vice versa. Yes?
I've asked you this in class before, but if someone doesn't have a proclivity for such optimism, do you think it can be learned at an old age?
Certainly. You know, thinking you can't learn, that's ageism. And of course we can learn. We can learn it all through our life. The brain keeps making new cells. They used to think that the brain was static and you'd use them up and that was it. But it's not true. We continue to develop new brain cells. And it's a matter of motivation, isn't it?
Choice, maybe?
I think choice. I think choice. There's so many things we can choose. It's not always easy to get up and get to the pool by 8 o'clock in the morning. But I always feel better if I do. Yes?
You are so amazing. I'm so grateful I came to hear these presentations today, and that yours is one of them. And I just have to ask you, what's next for you?
Well, you know, I have a huge student debt. I would not have gone to school. I couldn't possibly have afforded to have gone to school without student loans. And when I found out that they are not inheritable, so I didn't, you know, bequeath a burden to my children, then I felt I could be free to do this. And in order to pay that back, because my income is not quite enough to meet my needs, I have to earn some money, and I intend to write a book. A lot of it is already, you know, I've got all these papers from all these years, and I've been writing about old age ever since I was a sophomore. I was a sophomore for 67 years, and I'm talking about when I got back to school and took school seriously. So a book, and I think the title, having a great, changing gold to platinum, having a great old age, it might sell. What do you think about that?
No, I was just saying I want a copy.
Oh, great. Yes?
Hi, Grandma. You've encountered hardships at times, like a broken bone or not wanting to wake up for swimming. And you pursue these healthful things in spite of hardship. Do you ever pursue anything? Do you ever consciously embrace hardship or choose hardship? Do you find a value in hardship in and of itself?
I never choose pain over pleasure. And there's enough hardship that comes in a normal life to last a lifetime. There's no way, you cannot get away from suffering. It's going to happen. Frankl said, you know, that if you find the meaning in your life, it gives you the capacity to suffer, to endure suffering. And you don't need to embrace it, it just comes. Like a cat that rubs around your ankles.
Last question.
So, hi, Mom. So, obviously you had to draw a line in the sand in terms of the scope of your thesis in order to be able to finish it. But in the course of your research, have you identified any additional questions that, if you had more time, you'd like to dig into those?
Hundreds. Hundreds of questions, so many things I'd like to investigate. I'd love to get another master's degree. I would like to go on. You need to unhook me.
No, we're keeping you here forever, Velda.
Thank you, Velda.
Well, I don't know, that's a hard act to follow. Our next presenter